Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Darwin and I've been playing a hell of a lot of BFA. Whenever I'm not on my rogue though, however, I am playing my hunter a hell of a lot. Last time I played my hunter was when I was doing my first impressions for hunters for BFA. Since then, I've been really trying to grind it out on every other class to make videos for them, and hunter is something that's been taking a backseat for the whole time. Recently, I got back into my hunter, as you saw my survival hunter video, and since survival hunter, I've been playing a lot of marksman. Marksman got a few changes for BFA, as well as a few model changes. Now, every single ranged weapon, whether it's a crossbow, bow, or a gun, now has a battle-ready animation. These things are still a work in progress, but I feel like with the new animations primarily for Beastmaster and Marksman, it's a good time for us to take a look at what Marksman is like in BFA, and give you guys a little bit of a closer look as what you can expect, and maybe why you might want to level this spec of Hunter in BFA. So let's first talk about what's different with Marksman and why they're great, why they're fun. The overall playstyle in BFA. Instead of getting some crazy new changes and becoming nothing like it used to be, Marksman is actually taking old school ideas, old school concepts from previous expansions, but also continues to build on what it tried to establish in Legion. The pacing, the playstyle, and the importance of your abilities is still there. It just added a few abilities from previous expansions and changed up a little bit of the flow of your rotation. To the point where it took out mechanics I didn't like and added mechanics I actually enjoy. I guess the best way I can describe it, if you played rogues, and this channel really was a rogue channel to begin with, so a lot of you will know what Subtlety is like, the big bad wolf, the bursty of the burstiest of all three specs of rogue. Subtlety is all about the big old burst. That's what Marksman Hunter is like, with a little bit extra mobility sprinkled in there, a little bit extra Legolas in there, but also some kind of a sniper elite feel to it. Overall, I found it enjoyable. One of the best things that Blizzard done for this spec is took out the vulnerability. Your mastery is still more or less the same, giving you range to your abilities, which is awesome to hit enemies from so far away. Having something unique like that compared to mages and warlocks and so many other ranged classes to have even more range than them, something about it just feels unfair against unsuspecting mobs or players, but also kind of fun. The vulnerability window of your mastery is gone. You no longer have this find weakness class smash style mechanic for a ranged class with intense amounts of range. What I didn't like about it personally is not because it's like find weakness or Colossus Smash. I actually love Colossus Smash and how it plays with Warrior, even BFA becoming your burst cooldown. I also like find weakness, how it's coming back in BFA, because it's an ability I remember back in Mists of Pandaria and even Warlords of Draenor. What I don't like is those kind of mechanics with a class that has range and abilities that have travel time. If Blizzard told us outright that when you fire off a shot, when you cast ends, and the enemy has vulnerability, even if the bullet travels, it'll still have the vulnerability damage increase or not. That I could never quite understand, and it didn't feel that great to play whenever you're just going through your base rotation. I couldn't quite tell if I'm actually doing the rotation right or wrong, so having that completely out of the way, I feel like loosens a lot of the barriers and allows more creativity and playability for the spec. The first thing we could talk about is your Lone Wolf talent, which a lot of players felt they just had to, because it was the best talent. You give up the ability to even summon a pet so you yourself can deal more damage. Since most of your damage comes from the hunter, it is way worth giving up the pet, but when you do that, you give up all the extra abilities the pet can grant you. With the changes in BFA, where your pets can give you defensives, offensives, group utility, as well as personal buffs like movement speed and damage reduction, pets become a lot more integral in the game. So with pets being more important, Marksman Hunters having a talent of Lone Wolf, it would feel like you were missing out. In BFA, they made talent of Lone Wolf simply a passive. If you don't have a pet available, you deal 10% more damage. 10% more damage doesn't seem like a lot, and I haven't really got to test the numbers whatsoever. I have no idea if you do more or less similar damage with a pet or without a pet. But during my time questing, it didn't make me feel like, wow, all of a sudden as soon as I get rid of the pet, now I'm just hitting everybody with one-shots. It felt that it was very, very similar. The pet play for hunters is going to be something that you will have to consider as they give different buffs, whether for your party or for yourself. So I think it's great to give marksman hunters this option. Yes, you will have to sacrifice 10% of your health, but now you can take a mechanic that would otherwise one-shot you, where a tanky pet can protect and deflect 20% of it, which now allows you to at least finish the fight at the very end of it and see the end of the boss, rather than getting one shot in a single go. Also, if you are in a group, like let's say a raid, where you already have enough of buffs coming in from every party member possible, you won't need your pet in majority of situations, so you can now let go of that pet in order to increase your personal damage. But I feel like having that option on the table for every single hunter is a good idea. It's something worth considering and makes your playstyle and makes the situation and how you approach the situation a little bit more interesting with that little bit of preparation. When I think of marksman hunters, I find there's two specific playstyles I imagine. First of all is this very much sniper playstyle, you know, plant your feet in the ground and just try to shoot enemies from as far away as you can. And in the playstyle that you can get for BFA, it almost feels like there's a little bit of that gunplay mechanic. You know, the whole reloading bullets and having prep work and really lining up your shot from a distance and just being able to rapid fire the enemy. It's not like they're actually adding some kind of crazy gunplay mechanics, but the way that it paces itself kind of reminds me of a few champions from League of Legends. Now, you don't need to know what League of Legends is like, but a few champions have interesting playstyles where in their auto attacks, they will, let's say, have 4 bullets in a gun, 1 auto attack, 2, 3, 4, and then they'll have to take a moment to reload. The damage itself with auto attacks is a little bit offset, so when you do have a bullet with an auto attack, you deal a lot more damage. Now, they're not adding this kind of mechanics in World of Warcraft, but you do have phases where you have long casts for big damage, and then you're all about building up focus back as fast as possible. So you have phases where it feels like you're slow and casting and not really doing anything, and if your character has a gun, you can almost imagine them like reloading, and then you have moments where you're just spraying and praying, just firing bullets, arrows, bolts, everything at the enemy. So that type of playstyle reminded me a little bit of like a gunplay feel. I also like the long casts of marksman because I'm so used to so many characters having fast cast abilities. The faster you cast, the more damage you do. But here you have this warlock, like Destro Warlock type of feel where you line up a big old chaos bolt. But here you're lining up, this is the most accurate shot that's gonna go through the enemy's jugular kind of deal. It feels heavy. And it's something that for a hunter spec, the heaviness kind of has that payoff. Like you think you're just going to hit the enemy for so much when you're spending so much time casting. And something about it feels different. It's not something I remember hunters, especially marksmen, having at any point in the expansions that I did play marksman hunter, starting with Mr. Pandaria. Then, when you don't think about the sniper playstyle, the sitting, camping, and sniping people from afar, whenever you think of hunters, most of us think of Legolas from Lord of the Rings. The very light, agile type of playstyle where you're all about running around and pelting enemies with arrows left and right. And you technically can do something like that in BFA. I played around with it and damage differences are definitely going to be there. And it feels like the mobile side of it, it's a lot of running while casting, it's a lot of insta-cast abilities, and if you include traps into your rotation when you're trying to, let's say, fight a quest mob or maybe a rare and trying to kite them around all over the place without the pet, it actually feels kind of cool. It's fun to run around enemies and weave circles around them back to back to back. What the marksman hunter in BFA ends up doing, it combines the sniper playstyle and this very much Legolas, very nimble playstyle together. There's moments where you have to really take the aim shot and really just try to get the most amount of damage to the enemy. But then you go into Legolas where you're all about running about and getting your focus. So Sniper is all about spending that focus and getting the most damage out. And then you go into Legolas where you have a lot more mobility and you're just trying to get focus back. So it's great to have basically two different playstyles that weave back and forth, and it adds a little bit of creativity and a little bit of variety to a specialization. And I guess we can also talk about the talents, as they really got redesigned in such a good way where there's a lot more accessibility, a lot more variety of what you want to do. I feel that the current Marksman Hunter in Legion kind of suffers from being a bit too stiff. You either have to build yourself, for PvE mostly, in either single target fashion or AoE fashion. Yeah, you can take a few talents kind of and in between, but you can either be a master in massive AoE groups, or you can have a really strong rotation for single target, but you can't really have best of both worlds. With the changes they did for BFA, the spec feels has a lot more freedom, a lot more breathing room in terms of how you want to customize yourself. And it seems like some abilities, some cooldowns can be applied and used in more than one fashion. Blizzard understood where majority of your damage comes from. It comes from your aim shots, really just slamming down through your enemies. So they gave them a cleave-like mechanic. If you press multi-shot on a bunch of enemies, you can get a proc, I think depending on how many enemies you hit, at least 3 or 4. You'll make a proc where either your aim shot or rapid fire will have a ricochet effect where it'll hit multiple enemies at the same time. So they really took down to understand exactly where most of your damage comes from. So you have abilities that may buff or enhance your aim shot, and you can use aim shot now for single target or in an AoE component because it has, I guess, these filters that it goes through. But you by no means are forced to use aim shot only for AoE or modifying aim shot and its effects to suit AoE. There are other abilities in order to have a little more AoE emphasis. I just want to say it's nice to have abilities that have more than one function, single target or AoE, which gives a player flexibility, which is something we see with a lot of specs in BFA, and I'm really happy that they did this for marksman hunters. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if this is something you are interested in. Are you going to be playing a marksman hunter, or are you even thinking about leveling one now that you saw this video? Or do you not really enjoy the current playstyle we experience in BFA and you would rather play the Legion playstyle, or maybe a playstyle you used to play back in Mists of Pandaria, Cataclysm, Wrath, whichever expansion you might have enjoyed it. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I get to read all of y'all comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you guys want to see more videos from the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to make sure to catch every single video and every single stream, go ahead and hit the notification bell down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in another video.